Grief. If you are new to my stream for the show, I will just give you guys a little disclaimer, like I was saying earlier. My Sunday streams are about my grief journey. Typically, I have someone come on and they read a letter that they a letter to grief to someone they've lost. And you may be wondering, why would you want to write a love letter to grief? Seems kind of crazy and a little backwards. Well, 5 years ago, I lost my husband, and I learned very quickly. I went from writing love letters to him to writing love letters to grief because I learned very quickly that grief is the price we pay for love. And I had to really understand what grief was. And in doing so, I kind of tried to look at it in a way that would be more helpful than hurtful. So I wrote a book journaling my grief journey called Love Letter to Grief, Learning to Walk by Faith. And you can find the book on Amazon, or you can message me on IG directly to get a copy. Again, it's called Love Letter to Grief, Learning to Walk by Faith. I really wanted to, I felt like something so tragic, I wanted it to use it as an opportunity to not just help myself, but use it to help other people. I said early on, I'm the type of person I feel like your test should become your testimony. And I was definitely tested during that time. So I'm going to bring in Emoji J. He's going to show you guys my book trailer, and then we're going to get started. Oh, thank you. Okay, so like I was saying, typically I have someone on the show every Sunday, and they share their love letter to grief. But this Sunday, I'm going to be sharing my own love letter to grief. And once I finish the letter, I'm going to just kind of give you guys some more backstory of what's been going on with me the last month. And then I'll open it up for questions if anybody has questions, or if somebody wants to, at the end, say something in the box, then I'll open that up as well. Okay, so this is my letter. So I've been working on a couple of books since I wrote my first book, but I've just started the second book to the last book now. I've been working on it, but I kind of changed the focus of it based on some stuff that I just recently went through. So once I read the letter, it'll probably make more sense. Dear Grief, There's so much that you forced me to see, to learn, and feel over the past 5 years. One thing I've learned a little too late that I wish someone had shared with me earlier to make the process easier was not just that I had to let my life go and my husband go, but I also had to let me go. I know that sounds unusually cruel, but it's true, and I will try to explain. You will never go back to the person you were before the loss. I know that sounds tough, but let it sink in. My husband passed away exactly 1 week before my birthday. I always heard and read people say the first year is typically the hardest. This is also not true. So I tried to keep telling myself I just needed to make it through my first anniversary without him, my daughter's first day of school without him, my first Thanksgiving, my first Christmas, New Year's Eve, etc. If I could just get to my first birthday without him, I would be okay. I thought I would magically wake up feeling like myself again, the girl that I had been looking for and searching for an entire year. I kept thinking it would be at that moment that I could get the old me back. The entire year, I had not so patiently waited for my birthday to come around so I could feel like my old self. That was the first time I remember feeling like myself. I was smiling, I was laughing, thriving, and enjoying life. I was with my best friends in California for my birthday. I couldn't wait to get there, and boy, was I excited. I planned the perfect weekend to spend with my old friends, some of my closest friends, because she and I shared a birthday. The night before my birthday, I said my prayers. I went to bed, and I was so full of hope and joy, only to wake up the morning of my birthday 1 year later, sobbing on my pillow, full of tears, realizing that I still felt the exact same way. I was still sad, I was still alone, and I was still learning that he was still gone. I was devastated, crushed, and heartbroken. This wasn't what I signed up for. Heck, none of this was what I signed up for. But I had been so purposeful and so diligent in my grief journey that I felt that the world owed me something very solid at this point. Just a moment for myself to feel life without the grief, to feel life without the pain. But there I was, still feeling, still hurting, and still crying. The following week, I went to grief counseling, still devastated. I talked to my grief counselor about how I really thought I would get back to the old me. It was at that moment that she said something very profound. She told me I should stop searching for the person I was on my last birthday. Sadly, she informed me that that person no longer existed. It hit me like a ton of bricks. How could the person I'd grown into and the person that took me 37 years to perfect, to love, no longer be me? Who was I supposed to be now if not that? I was sad, but for the first time, I understood that I needed to let something else go. I'd been trying to get back to the last time I felt my happiest, which was my birthday. Like I said, I was in California celebrating with my best friend since elementary school, and it was the last time that I had laughed and smiled and really enjoyed my life. I had found myself in a space to accept the new normal, and now it was time to accept that I needed to meet the new me, whoever she was. So, looking back, I just wish that someone had told me it was okay to let the old me go. I could have spent the first year trying to redefine who I was going to be because there's no way you can lose someone that meant the world to you and go back to being the exact same person. I didn't understand that, but I was ready to work in redefining myself: the mother, the stepmother, the businesswoman, the author, and the widow. The lesson that I learned that I wish I knew earlier was it's okay to let the old me go. A huge part of my heart was taken away, and that's not easy to recover from. My life drastically changed everything I knew about it. And that person, along with the loss of my husband, died also. So, to anyone who's trying to figure out life at this point, maybe I can offer you a little bit of hope, although it sounds super sad, that it's okay to let the old you go and to start working on redefining yourself and figuring out who you're going to be. It's okay to realize that that chapter of you has ended and changed. It's okay not to feel like yourself. You're not that person. You're not yourself. It will take time to learn the new you, to look at the new you, and to even hear how the new you sounds. Sad thing is, I feel like I had just started liking the new me. I had just figured out who I was past losing my husband. And now even that person is gone. The next chapter I'm starting, I'm on a mission to find myself once again. I'll be okay. And I know that And I can promise this to anyone that's listening, you will be okay too. Not the same, but you will be okay. You will never get back the person you were before the loss, and it's okay to say goodbye to you. So that's the letter I wrote for the first letter in my new book because, as some of you know, some of you may not know, um, on September the 3rd, I lost my father. And about 12 hours later, on September the 4th, I lost my baby brother. So that letter was kind of about, losing three very important people in my life. The morning that I talked to my brother, so my brother, we're super, super close. Like, I love my brother. Like, my brother was freaking awesome, like a rock star. Like, he was my youngest brother, but he was like my little big brother, big guy, very overprotective. Um, and he was my rock. When I lost my husband, he was the person that I called. He was the person that drove from Arkansas in what felt like 10 minutes. And I remember when I was at the scene of the accident when I lost my husband, in shock. And when I left the accident, I was sitting in a parking lot. I called my brother and told him what happened. I told him that I needed him to go to my in-laws' house to let them know what happened because I didn't want, um, because he works in Memphis, but his family stayed in Arkansas. So I didn't want his family to wake up and start reading. You know how people post on social media, RIP and all that stuff. And I was afraid that if I didn't wake them up in the early hours of the morning, that somebody would post it before I got a chance to tell them. So my brother was actually the person that went to my in-laws' house to give my mother-in-law the phone. Um, I just remember looking up and my brother was there. And he was the person that drove me to the funeral home. He was the person that stood beside me as I viewed my husband's body for the first time. Like, he was like my baby. Like, he was such a big part of me processing that loss and being there with me. So when he called me and told me about my dad, even though I was super like scared and like nervous about it, I felt like, listen, we've done this before. I know what it feels like to grieve. I know what it feels like to lose somebody. I'll be fine. And I was like, we got each other. We'll pull each other through it like we always do. And that's just what I expected to happen. So the next morning, my sister called to tell me that my brother died. I couldn't even imagine how that was humanly possible. I just felt like it was just so cruel because I just felt like how is my family supposed to mourn my dad and my brother at the same time, which is I just thought it was unimaginable. So, and it's been super, super challenging the last month. I have my up days and my down days. I think the hardest part so far was probably the viewing. We had the funeral almost 2 weeks later. And thank God for that because I don't think we could have physically handled a double funeral in a week. So my mother-in-law, my stepmom waited 2 weeks for the funeral. So the hardest part for me was pulling up to the wake, and the person that's usually like my rock wasn't the person that could help me through it because he was actually the person that I had to process that I had lost. So walking into the viewing and seeing a double casket, that is something I wouldn't wish on anyone ever. It was very, very tough. But my best friend, they were there, like the same friends that were there for me when I lost my husband, they were there for me when I lost my dad and my brother. They've always been there. So I'm very blessed in that I have family, that I have support. But it's been very challenging. And I just remember it's so ironic that I always think about like how my birthday trip was the thing that I kind of looked at as happiness before losing my husband. And then my trip to Miami with Epsy and Roll and Jilly and all of them was like so powerful because it was like such a good time. And then I don't know, it's kind of like maybe God is like, he gives you these little bubbles of of like joy to kind of help sustain you through something that you're about to go through. So even in Miami, I'm telling y'all, like I was having the time of my life. I was like living it up. I was having so much fun. I never laughed so much. I never smiled so much. It was insane. And I even told Epsy, I was like, I don't. I mean, I've told her this, but I don't know if she understands the depth of what that trip meant to me because it was so needed. Even though at the time I didn't understand why, but it's been tough. Like it's been a really like I don't know. I have not cried so much in 5 years. Like I thought I cried a lot the first time, but this time it's been like insane. And I've just been trying to process it. But I did, I feel like now I'm at a place where I'm taking it in and I've accepted it. And I had this is a crazy thing. So I had a, it's like it's so weird because even though at the time it felt like the worst thing in the world to lose both of my dad and my brother, now it's almost like I can't imagine if I lost them a year apart. So it's almost like losing them at the same time, even though it felt the worst thing. I just feel like it was like it. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it, but it was different, but it wasn't as horrible as I feel like it could have been if it was like spread out like a year or so. And my brother, like my dad, I feel like my dad, he's my dad, he's older. He's supposed to, you think your parents are going to pass away. That's something you try to prepare yourself for. And I feel like I accepted that easier. But my brother, like he's younger than me, like that to me, and I've always said it, I've told people this before. I think losing a child or a sibling is probably one of the toughest because it just doesn't seem natural. Even though I know death is natural, but it's just super, super tough. So I had a visitation dream and it was heartbreaking because I have no idea which one of them it was in the dream. Like, I woke up and I was crying because I was like, who was I talking to? I have no idea. Like, my brother and my dad look so much alike. And so I have no idea which one of them visited me in my dream, but one of them did. But I don't know which one. So that's like one of those little moments where it's like you laugh, but like looking back at it, because my dad died in my brother's arms, I just feel like his heart couldn't handle the loss. And so, like, the silver lining for me is that they're together and he just wasn't going to be strong enough to process seeing our dad like that and then like living without him. So, I don't know. I mean, it's like the thing with God is he doesn't owe us an explanation, he doesn't owe us understanding and things we're going through. Like his only promise to us is that he's not going to leave us. And even though sometimes in a dark moment it feels like he did leave you, I know that he doesn't because I just feel like that's the part of my setting that keeps me sane and that keeps me like understanding what I'm going through, and it just keeps me like stable. So I'm a very faithful person. That's why my book is about my faith because I don't know how I could process these types of losses without it. But it's been a very like tough time. When my dad passed away, I was looking for a picture of us to post, and I had my wedding picture because we didn't know that did the father daughter dance, and I was so sad because I was like, man, like every man from my wedding I've lost. Like I lost my grandfather, then I lost my husband, and then I lost my dad. And I was like, well, at least I got my brothers. And then I lost my brother. I was like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Like it's crazy. And then my oldest brother, he's incarcerated. So I was talking to my grief counselor last week, and I was telling her I feel like I'm mourning all three of them, even though my oldest brother isn't dead. But she was explaining to me that it makes sense because I am grieving him as well because he's not there. And so like another part of me breaks for him because he's the oldest, and I feel horrible that he has had to process this by himself. Like he didn't get to come to the funeral, which I don't understand how that's even humanly possible. Like my brother's in jail for like drug charges. It's not like any like it's not a like I mean it wasn't like he's not in jail for like murder or anything super crazy. So I felt like how could you lose your dad and your brother and the system not allow you to come to the funeral? But I guess they don't really care. And so like I'm heartbroken for him as well because I don't know. It's just I feel like I lost my dad and I feel like I lost both my brothers at the same time. So it's just like super challenging. But yeah, so that's why I haven't been streaming as much. And that's why I probably seem very distant, but I'm just trying to process it and get myself grounded again to start back trying to figure out who Travel Bay is going to be post these two major losses. So that's where we are. So I've been doing a lot of praying, a lot of meditating, a lot of crying. Um, yeah, it's been a challenge. So, but like I keep telling myself, I've been here before. I know, like if I do the work and I really work at it, I know I'll be okay. So I'm just trying to figure out who I'm going to be now because it took me 5 years to figure out who I was going to be. And now I'm not her anymore. And that really sucks because I liked her. She was cool. She was a vibe. But it's just life. But I don't know. I just, and Weddington is in here and she posted something yesterday which broke my heart all over again. She posted something on IG. I think it said, find you somebody that will love you until the old you comes back. And I read her post and cried again because I was like, man, like that sounds good. Like it sounds good that that's going to happen, but the reality is it's not going to happen. So you need to find people that will love you and wait until the new you comes. But I didn't want to put that on your post because that's my truth. But that's what I feel. I feel like you need to make sure the people that surround you are patient enough to wait until you find out who the new you is going to be. So, you know, that's where I am with that. So I just feel like if there's one thing I wish I knew earlier was that with every loss, you lose yourself. So you're not just mourning, your person that you love, you're mourning yourself because that person was a part of you. That's exactly the right people will stick around and God will send you new people. Like your village changes. That's something else I've learned. Your circle changes with every loss. Like every lot, like when I lost my husband, I lost my best friend too. Like my best friend since 11th grade. Like she was like literally, I felt like she was my second soulmate because we were so close. And I lost me and her stopped being friends. Not probably like 2 months after my husband passed away, and so that was tough because again, I was mourning her, but the reality is God sent me all these new people that were also walking a grief journey who understood where I was at and understood what I needed. So that's important to understand that, there's going to be people that are going to come into your life that you don't even know. People are going to bless you with things and they're not even going to realize the depths of what they're doing. So that's always something that I'm encouraged by. Like, how people say, oh, I'm praying for you. Like sometimes I think like people don't get how big that is because I know that's true. Like when people say, I'm praying for you, I'm thinking about you, like I feel like those are prayers being sent out on my behalf are things to get me through the day. Uh, I don't want to miss. I think again is the issue, or could be finding yourself again, or just finding you again. Facts. That's true, Weddington. As odd as it may sound, God knew that your brother couldn't be on earth without your father, so he had to bring them together. Absolutely. I felt the same way when Kobe and his daughter passed away together. I felt the same way then. I feel like Gigi's heart couldn't handle not having her dad. So it was like the same thing. I felt like, you know, my brother was there, my dad died, and I can't imagine what that feels like. So I do agree. I feel like um I feel like that's why, you know, for sure. But I don't know. I mean, I appreciate the people that like, and the thing is, like people, and I always tell people, like, you don't know what you need. You know, like sometimes people say, I don't know what to say to somebody that's crying or sad or losing somebody. And it's just the little things. I tell people all the time, just a text message to check on somebody goes a long way. Like Texas would send me a text message every single day for weeks. Like, and it was so sweet and so thoughtful. And it meant a lot to me because it meant that the pain I was in, even if she didn't know what it felt like, her acknowledging that she was thinking about me and sending me a message meant the world. And there's been so many people, like people were sending me flowers and people cashed out me for like dinner and lunch, and people were sending just all these nice things to me. And that means a lot. Like, even if you don't think it's anything, like you can't do something big, but you know, you can cash out somebody $10 and say, get you some coffee. I said one day I said $5. They was like, you can't get coffee for $5 at Starbucks, so I had to up the price. But you can cash out somebody $10, say get you some coffee, or $20, like get you some wine. You know, like just something to let them know you're thinking about them. But it's very helpful. Thank you, Chrissy Boo. I appreciate that. Listen, McDonald's coffee is good, but sometimes y'all be a little bougie. And so y'all want your Starbucks coffee. So that's why I said that. But you know, whatever you can do. Somebody sends you $5, put it on your coffee. So, you know, but those things make a difference. Like Lord Forth, I said it last night. He messaged me on IG every single day. To this day, he still messages me. I'm just checking on you. How are you? How you feeling? You know, and we're not that close. So those little things mean a lot. Um, Sometimes you don't know if people want to be bothered, and you don't know if you're supposed to call them or like go visit them or whatever. But just sending a person a message saying, I don't know what to say, but I'm thinking about you. I hate what you're going through. I'm so sorry. Those things, I promise you, hold so much weight. They hold so much more weight than you choosing not to say anything. Because, like I say, your circles change with love. You can be close to people who chose to be silent during something like this, and your relationship will never be the same. Like, I have people right now that I love and adore who I can't even look at the same because they chose not to reach out to me during such a tough time. And so just sending a text message just to acknowledge it, because even though you think sometimes people say, well, I don't want to make them sad. Trust me, we're already sad. Nothing you say is going to make me be like, oh, dang, I forgot. I lost my dad and my brother. That's not going to happen. Like, trust me, we're sitting with that every single moment. So you're not going to trigger me. You're not going to trigger us at all. Your silence is very hurtful. Your absence is felt, and your relationship will change because of it. So you want to acknowledge those people in some way. If I can't give y'all anything else, I'm telling you right now, your silence is deadly in a situation like this. So reach out. Just say, I'm praying for you. I don't know what to say. I'm so sorry. Even just text me and say, man, this is fucked up. Damn. Even that. Like, I mean, even that, because it acknowledges my truth. It is fucked up. You know what I'm saying? So it's okay to just text somebody and say that, but don't not say anything. Listen to me. Read my lips. Do not say nothing. It's not good. It's very hurtful. So that's where we are. Love letter to grief. Here we are again. I've just accepted that me and grief are going to be friends for the rest of my life, because the harder you love, the harder you grieve. So, yeah. The name of the book should probably be Here We Go Again. Like, not even. But it's just crazy. But, again, like I say, I'm grateful for the moments. I'm grateful for the memories. That's why I always like take pictures when I'm with my friends, or I like to take pictures. I like to remember those moments. I like to have like a video of it. because those memories are like the thing that like make everything so good. So funny story. My little brother, this was, let me see, what year was this? This was 2017 for the playoffs. We went to my brother surprise, my oldest brother surprised me, my dad, and my youngest brother with playoff tickets to see the Cowboys. My dad and my brothers are huge Cowboys fans. I don't think y'all understand the depths that it, listen, it's real in the Raleigh family. They are crazy about the Cowboys. They don't play about them. They go to war for the Cowboys like it's been there forever. So my brother surprised us with playoff tickets. We drove to Dallas together. We had the time of our lives. So my youngest brother, he didn't have Facebook at the time because he felt like Facebook was for the feds. And so he didn't have Facebook. My brother had a flip phone, y'all. I'm not joking. This was in 2017. My baby brother had a flip phone. So and so he got my phone. It randomly he was just getting my phone and going live on my Facebook. So I was dying because I was like, no, go live on your phone. And so I have all these hilarious videos on Facebook of him going live, not understanding that he was like he would go live like, dang, it's like 3 people here, sister. Where your friends? And I feel like, sir, you just hit the button. You have to give them time to come in. Oh my God, it was so funny. And so I have like probably 10 videos of him on my Facebook. And you can hear me in the background, like crying, laughing. It was so funny. And so like I was looking at those, so they just laughing because I was like, those things are so important. And yeah, so even now, anytime I type the word "look, bro," it pops up the white and blue heart because it's how I had his name programmed in my phone for the Cowboys. Yes, where your friends at? He was so serious, like, girl, it's like 3 people in here. And he like, oh, okay, they coming in, okay. But it was so funny. So anytime I type the word "little bro," blue and white hearts pop up. It's so sweet. But yeah, make the memories, you guys. Take the trips with your family and your friends. If somebody, like, you just never know when the last time it's going to be that you talk to somebody. Funny, okay, true story. I was supposed to be, okay, backstory. I got sick in Orlando after Miami. I got sick. I got COVID. I came home early. I was in Orlando in the house by myself crying like a baby. Didn't understand why I was crying, but now it all makes sense. I was so sad. I was like, no, I'm going home. I'm leaving. I was so dramatic. I'm leaving here. This place is not my home. So I was supposed to be on a flight that morning. I got there, but I couldn't check in because I didn't make it in time to check my bags. So they had to change my flight. So true story, had I made my flight, I would have missed my phone call from my brother telling me about my dad. So that's why, like, I always tell myself, things happen in life and we be like so frustrated, like, dang, I missed my flight. It's traffic, this, and this. That's always God's protection from something. We don't always know why. Because had I made that flight, I would have missed my last time talking to my brother. And that would have been even worse. So, like, looking back at it, it's like, okay, I missed the flight, but I had that conversation because that was our last conversation. So that's a blessing in disguise. Made the flight later, talked to my baby brother, and so there you have it. But try not to be like so. Sometimes life is going to life, and just let it happen. But take the trips, go to dinner with your people, go visit your people, hug your people, tell them you love them while they're here. Forgive people. Like me and my dad didn't always have the best relationship, but over the years we became closer and closer. And I remember the trip in Dallas, all of us together, was like the best moment of me and my dad's life outside of my wedding. Because like my daddy can sing and my daddy could dance. So we had a good time at my wedding. But that trip was so fun because my dad loves to sing. Like my dad had an amazing voice. Y'all don't know it, but I'm an amazing singer too. But my dad had an amazing voice. So we were in the car just driving and singing and having a good time. So I thank God that I haven't lost anybody where there was there was an issue. You know, like, because I feel like when you lose people and you have like you guys were like on bad terms, and you said something to that person and you didn't get a chance to apologize for it, those people have a harder time grieving. So I try. I'm not perfect, but I really, really try to not hold anger with people. I try to forgive very quickly, and I try to accept people for who they are. So if I lose someone, I'm not like, man, I wish I said this, I wish I said that. So forgive people, say you're sorry. Just be kind to people. You never know what people are going through. You never know when it's gonna be your last time talking to somebody. So yeah. So if y'all have any questions, y'all can ask questions. If not, we're gonna wrap it up. But yeah, so that was my love letter to grief. Here we are again. I don't know what the next title of the book is going to be, but I am working on it. I've been spending the last couple of days really, really working on it and just offering some insight to the things I've learned over the last 5 years. And just I'm just going to continue to work on myself. My grief counselor is when I talk to her, the center that I go to, they're actually wanting me to be a part of their podcast team, which is a blessing. I was like, oh, look at y'all. Y'all see my growth. So that's really good. What do you do when you find your thoughts are laden with grief for long periods? So this is what I do, Sincere. Every person I've lost, I have a song that is like their song. And so, it's usually a gospel song. And so, gospel songs are kind of long. So they're typically about 5 minutes long, 4 or 5 minutes long. So for me, one thing I try to do is I play the song and I'll tell myself, get it all out, cry and get it all out. And when the song is over, make the decision. Are you going to be okay? Or do you need to play the song again? Sometimes I need to play the song again. I need to cry some more. But after the song plays, like the words are usually something that speaks to my soul for that particular person. And it gives me a sense of peace. So that's usually how I do it. I try not to sit in it too long because it can happen. Like but then also you have to give yourself some space. Don't be too hard on yourself. If you wake up and you feel like it's just not it's not a day for you to push through, that's fine. Lay in it. It's okay to feel it. Because again, like I say, the person meant a lot to you. And you grieving a person is also you loving a person. So in that grief is also an intimate moment of love as well. So sometimes if it feels like it's a little longer, that's fine. But you just want to make sure you don't allow yourself too many of those days back to back. So, I would say if you find yourself in a place where you can't even push through, I just say probably reach out to somebody and just text somebody that you love and just say, I'm not in a good space and I need you. And allow those people who've told you, let me know how I can help, allow those people to help. So my mom went through something really similar with my dad that you did with your husband. So now I have insight on how she felt. Oh, yeah. I'm glad. Yeah. And the thing with parents, like for me, I worry so much about my daughter. She was 10 when the other thing is so hard for me to process. So my daughter, we lost my granddad when she was 8. She lost my dad she lost her dad when she was 10. She lost my aunt that was like her grandmother when she was 11. Like she's suffered some big losses. And she's still, of course, I be loving on her real hard, and she's on grief counseling. We do a lot of stuff that's really catered toward her mental health, making sure she's okay. But kids are so resilient. But it does break my heart that she's gone through so many major losses at such a young age. He died right before both of their birthdays, and he was buried. Oh, wow! I'm not buried on her birthday. That's tough. Who's Lord? That's a tough one, man. That's tough. Yeah, but I don't know. I feel like she's had so many losses. Like as a young person, I didn't experience loss. So I was a full like an adult. Like I mean, I never like I had people when I was a little kid that passed away, but they weren't like close to me. Like my grandmother passed away when I was 2. You know, she was, of course, I loved her, but I was 2 years old, so it wasn't like, so crazy. But she's processing it well. But I think the thing for kids is they just want to know that you're okay. So she side eyes me a lot. She tests my temperature. Like if she sees me pushing through most days, then she feels comfortable. But I do allow her to see me cry. I feel like that's important because I never want her to feel like she has to always have it together. So if I'm having a rough day, I let her see it. Not always, but sometimes. And then she knows, like if she wakes up some mornings and she's not having a good day and she doesn't want to go to school, she doesn't have to go to school. Because if as a 42-year-old woman, if there's days I wake up and say no to I'm not doing this shit today, she has the right to feel the same way because she suffered a major loss as well. So we have to remember to give kids some grace and give them some mental health days too. We birthed the love of my life the day before my birthday. Oh Lord, it's always like it's always something. It's out. It seems like death is always close to something important, like a big holiday or your birthday or something. Something that continues to remind you of that loss. So, but we will be okay, y'all. We got this. I promise y'all. We're gonna keep pushing through. It's okay to cry. It's okay to not be okay. We just gotta, figure out who we're going to be after the loss. Oh, thank you, Cheyenne. You're gonna make me cry. The crazy thing is, I have so many. Like when I first downloaded this app, the day before I downloaded this app, I was trying to work on a vlog, but when I recorded it, I didn't like the sound of my voice, and I was like, I don't think I can do it. But I wanted to do something really working on grief, and so once I started doing this show, it's so many people who reach out to me on IG that don't even come, they don't even really stream or they don't really be online, but they came to one of my shows. They keep in touch with me, so I really feel like I really appreciate y'all when y'all say that to me because again, it's like I say, I wanted my test to be my testimony. I kept telling myself I can't lose him and this be my story. Like I wanted it to make sense for me. So having people say that it means a lot. Excuse me. That's some coughing again. You can't celebrate Christmas like you used to because both of my great grandparents died in December 2 years. Oh man, that's tough. I'm sorry. Yes, thank you. I had anxiety going to playlist. I decided not to. I'm glad because I ended up spending on the last. Oh, wait a minute. With your mom and your brother, what do you mean, sincere? Oh, Queen Lala, I'm glad you found me. I'm glad we were able to help one another in our grief journey, being widows. That's sweet. Wait a minute, sister, you lost your mom? Whoa, 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 whoa. You lost your mom and your brother after playlist? I didn't know that. Oh, I did not know that. Lord, and that's the thing I'm telling y'all. Behind these faces, behind these names, y'all have no idea what some of us are going through. Sincere, I did not know that. I'm so sorry to hear that. Not the cop attack. Facts. We just don't know. Man, I'm so sorry to hear that. Wow. Wow. Absolutely. um, yeah, if you like anytime, if so, anybody that wants to be on the show, if you'll send me your letter ahead of time before you come on, if you can't finish your letter, I'll read it. But I haven't had a person yet that's come on that hasn't been able to finish their own letter, even though it seems a lot of people think they're not gonna be able to make it through. Every single person that's come on the show has finished their letter. You'll be amazed. You're a lot stronger than you think you are. So yeah, anybody that wants to be on the show, reach out to me and let me know. I'm going to get back to doing the show every Sunday that I can. Sundays at 11. Love Letters to Grief. We'll be here. Message me if you want to be on the show, and we'll get you on. But I do appreciate you guys for being here. Emoji J, thank you for recording the show. We're wrapping up. But anybody that's going through grief of your own, I'm praying for you as y'all are praying for me. And if you don't know what to do for someone, make sure you do something. That's all I can say. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Um, yeah, same, Shawnee. And I think it's like it's always so interesting. Like every time I do this show, somebody says something that I don't know. Uh, no, I'm not talking about like for today though. Like you can do the show another day. Like if you want to do the show a different Sunday, just let me know. But it's so crazy. Like, every time I do the show, it's somebody that I see all the time. They'll say something like, "Dang, I didn't know. I didn't know Shawnee was going through that. I didn't know the baby K lost her. I didn't know. Like I didn't know that. It's just interesting." But, oh, let me change my description. What I want my description to say? Happy Sunday. Sure. Is it a happy Sunday? Yes, it is. Sure. I thought she was gonna Texas, please. Texas, please. Not too much on me. Texas, are you at church? Did you go to church today? Yes, Emoji J. Yes. Make sure you clip this